Hey, Bramborough back with some Grand Tactician Civil War. Our CSA campaign in 1.06 beta. And so in the last episode, not that much happened on the campaign map. We're kind of in a consolidating, recruiting some brigades, trying to get some more men in these armies, maybe doing some economic work, exploring some of the 1.06 changes in economy and infrastructure and all that sort of thing. I want to start off, though, with addressing a couple of comments from the last episode. It was a pretty involved comment regarding banks that it took me a couple reads to kind of get the gist of it. I'm not going to lie. But pretty interesting stuff, actually, that I had not noticed and not sure I would have noticed if it wasn't for that being brought out. We have one bank. It is in New Orleans. At the moment, we cannot build more, and it's not a policy; it's an act in the policy tree. Is pretty late. It will be a long time before we are able to build any more banks, even if we were to prioritize that. Just to show that real quick, it's the Bank Act, which allows you to build more banks. And that is down here in Chapter 3, and you have to go through 3 policies of government funding in order to get to it. So that ain't going to happen anytime real soon. But we do have the one. And the one that we do have is upgradable. It is currently a 1-tier bank, and upgrade is available for it. Don't know if I'm going to do that just yet. I may not. I don't know. So how do these things work? Well, first, there is a heat map which shows which purports to show their area of effect. Okay? And if you look at this heat map, it doesn't look like it extends very far, right? Maybe as far as Baton Rouge, maybe as far as Biloxi. That's what it looks like here. It is farther than that. And to demonstrate that, let's say that I'm not going to. I got enough buildings building already. But let's say that I wanted to build a hospital. Okay, I click hospital. Okay, look over here on the right. It's a sort of a tooltip that pops up here called environment, and it shows here available capital poor, and it would actually only shave 3.2K off of the purchase building cost of this hospital. If I were to place this right here next to the bank, it's available capital low, reduced cost 3.5K. We move out, keep going west a little bit. Somewhere over here past Baton Rouge, we're already in an area where it looks like there's zero effect on the heat map. But we still have available capital poor here. Keep going. And then somewhere over here around Marion, Louisiana, which I think is right about where modern-day Lake Charles is. Over here we have very poor. And the cost reduction is very, very small. But it's still out here somewhere. I have to go over as far as Beaumont, Texas, before available capital completely disappears from the environment tooltip over there. And that is a tier 1 bank. If we were to expand it or upgrade it, I would assume that those effects would extend a little bit further and further out. How far north does it go before we'd lose it? Still low up here in Mississippi. Very poor up around Jacksonville and Vicksburg, and we have to actually get up north of Jackson and Vicksburg before it goes completely zero. And over on the east side, it extends out as far as just about as far as Pensacola. Admittedly, at the very poor level, which is negligible. But there is some effect further out than that heat map shows, is all I'm trying to get at. So that's pretty interesting. There was a comment that we got a cost reduction on this market earlier because of subsidies. And then we had spent that subsidy, and that's why we did not get such a cost reduction on the other markets. Buildings such as brickworks, farms, etc., all these economic buildings, yeah, there are subsidy levels for those. I think green is ag. This is probably industry. Yeah, either agricultural or industry. The market, however, is a federal building in this menu. And as far as I can tell here, there are not any subsidies associated with these. So I'm not sure about that. Now, it's possible. I don't really see a bar filling up on this thing. Yeah, the effect fades by distance to the bank, but that distance is a lot farther than the fading blob on the heat map. We got a pretty substantial, we got like a 90% discount on that particular market right there. It only cost us $96K when it should have cost $971K. And then we got a little bit lesser effect over here, and then none for anything else that we built, and none for anything we built right around here in New Orleans. So even though there's not a bar that fills up on this bank, maybe there is some kind of bar, and it kind of builds capital, builds capital, builds capital. And then you build something and you get a pretty big discount, but then kind of the available capital is dissipated and it needs to build up again. So there's not a bar showing that, so I'm not sure that's the case. But that's something to keep an eye on. Maybe we'll just let this percolate for a month or two and then come back and see if we see better discounts on some of these buildings as opposed to what we saw there on that hospital. It actually doesn't cost that. It's $2.3 million to upgrade this bank. And I think I'm going to do it. It's the only one I got, and it's the only one I'm going to have for a long time. Let's try to make it work for us. Okay, there I go, spending money again. And maybe I shouldn't, for reasons I'll talk about in a moment. Now, the buildings that I placed down also need people to work in them. So, there's not a lot of workforce around New Orleans. Possibly because there's already a lot of buildings here, already sucking up workforce. If I were to build anything in this region where maybe I want to take advantage of that available capital, I think maybe I ought to build it kind of over here around Alexandria. And yeah, a lot of people, if you're from South or Central Louisiana, it's Alexandria, not Alexandria. A lot of people say Alexandria too. And maybe even up here around Vicksburg. Whereas plopping more buildings right here around New Orleans, there's just not workforce there to work in them. Okay. I think I've talked enough about banks, but a related topic, because while I was looking at that Bank Act, and this is we've seen this kind of trend in some of the other areas of the game, but I hadn't really looked closely at this. So this is a little bit of a game changer for me that I should have picked up on before, but I didn't. Notice our credit rating. Okay, it's A, right? And anyone who's played this game up through the last patch, well, the still current patch, right, on the live game 1.05, knows that you go along, you recruit your stuff, you get your weapons, you know, and you spend money doing it, supply depots and so forth, and your credit rating gradually drops as you issue more debt. And the way that you fix that is you go in the policies and you take, you know, there were several acts and then these government funding policies where you just research that and your credit rating pops back up a couple ticks, and you know, that tied you over for another few months, and that's basically how you kept up with it, and that's basically how you manage the economy. Okay, well, you know, it doesn't work like that anymore, which shouldn't be any surprise, but I hadn't really put two and two together on how it does work. Well, I just clicked that because I was just trying to show the tooltip, and now I've accidentally gone and researched the darn thing. So now I'm researching government funding 1 and military 2 at the same time, which means it's going to be like 3 months for both of them. Can I unclick that? If I right click, does that take me out of the... Yeah, I didn't mean to do that, so I'm going to take that back off. Does that fix my military? Yeah, okay. No harm, no foul. Now, you research government funding, and no, it doesn't improve your credit rating. What it does is it increases your economy subsidies, like a lot of the other policies do, right? So you increase your economy subsidies using these government fundings now. Okay, but does that directly improve your credit rating? No, it does not. How is that done? Well, it's in projects. And I'm sure like everybody else was way ahead of me on this. Here it is. Improve credit rating. Each level of this project will further increase the national credit rating with 1 step. All right? So this is one of those, like many of these, there's several levels to it, and every time you go and do another level, it improves your credit rating. Yeah, but look at this thing. That's a lot of bar to fill up, right? It ain't like admin reform or reboard muskets. It's going to take a while. And this is one that we have to keep doing. Otherwise, we'll go bankrupt, right? Because our credit rating will drop and drop and drop. So what I don't have a feel for is in the new economy, how fast is the credit rating going to drop in response to our spending? How quick is this bar going to fill up so that we can keep treading water and keeping our nose up, you know, keep from drowning? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to find out. And that definitely is another factor saying, oh, I don't know if I'm not spending enough money. I don't know if I'm spending about the right amount of money on these buildings I've been doing, or if I've been spending way, 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 way too much already. I don't have the foggiest idea. But it sure looks to me like there are some brakes in place, and I don't know how strong those brakes are. Brakes as in, you know, like car brakes, slowing everything down. I do know that even though I didn't mean to click on it right that second, because we're working on the military too, yeah, I think I'm going to need some government funding policies researched pretty soon, as well as industry, as well as everything. So the long-term strategy on these policies, I don't know. Okay, enough about that. So how are we doing with our armies? I don't think... Okay, so we've still got our 2 armies over here in kind of central North Virginia kind of recovering their readiness, hopefully closer to medical effects so we can recover some of these losses faster. I've got some troops on the way, some brigades on the way to bolster these. But not really in a situation just yet where I'm enthusiastic about fighting another major battle against these two forces up here. Ostensibly, Patterson's army shouldn't really be in much better shape than ours, because our last major battle was the North Virginia Army against Patterson, and it was pretty bloody on both sides. And even though we won that, he only retreated as far as Alexandria, so from a strategic perspective, really didn't accomplish that much in that battle, to be honest. Do have our hospital almost built here. Garnet is, well, it's not really showing it, but Grafton, Virginia, I think is Grafton, Virginia is captured. It's Confederate now. It's just not showing the red because the army icon's in the way. Only 2,700 men. But we have more brigades recruiting down here at Raleigh, which are earmarked for Garnett's army. Okay. Actually, our biggest army right now, I think, is... well, soon will be. There are forces en route up to Sidney Johnson's army. And time hasn't started running yet on this session, so it doesn't have a good feel. But they should be up here pretty quickly. And meanwhile, there is an army of Indiana up here, estimated to be, well, right now estimated to be 0, but soon to be estimated 7,500 men. And I think that's all there is in the immediate area. I'm hopeful that Johnson can get up here and take Louisville. I'm also hopeful that he's able to do it at a time when there actually are no federal armies in Kentucky, and maybe we'll get lucky and the state will simply secede. I don't know if it's going to work that way, but I'm going to try. And then kind of similar to some of the other armies, kind of, Price's Missouri army is waiting for some more troops, which will be coming from Alabama, but they are not actually, they haven't actually arrived in Alabama yet, let alone be ready to transfer over to Missouri. So it's going to be several weeks before I think Sterling Price can take on Lyon up here, which right now we're estimating is at 6,000. To increase to 11,000. However, we are at some distance away, and that is an estimate. When we were up here at Springfield, much, much closer, the estimate was he had 12,000 present and was going to increase to 14,000. Due to the much shorter distance between the two armies, they were almost within engagement range at the time. I gotta think that that estimate was probably more accurate than what we're estimating now, from what has to be at least 100, maybe 150, 200 miles away. That's probably about somewhere between 100 and 150 miles, I would guess, just looking at it. Someone did note in the comments, in French no less, "Hey, engineers, don't forget about me." I haven't forgotten about them. They're building their telegraph. When this telegraph is done, he's going to plop over here and he's going to build another telegraph at Columbus. I haven't forgotten about him. Okay. Now, look at this. Let's look at one of these ports here. These ports are getting blockaded. think. No, I want the port, not the squadron. Maybe this one will be easier to click on. Okay, that one's not blocked. Oh goodness, you're gonna make me do this, aren't you? Okay. Okay, Biloxi is 31% blockaded. Well, that's interesting. Mobile and Louisiana, or rather New Orleans, are not blockaded, but Biloxi is. So that kind of tells me that there is a blockading fleet pretty far right around in here, such that his arc of blockade kind of runs right through here and doesn't quite reach New Orleans and Mobile. In other words, pretty poor placement, because it is definitely possible to blockade all three of these ports with one fleet. I don't want to engage, so I'm going to kind of go in small steps, but I'm just going to kind of move a fleet out here a little bit just so we can see where that fleet is. And hopefully I'm able to do that without actually engaging. And meanwhile, our raiders, they're making their way up, soon to arrive up here to blockade these trade nodes, if we can. I think we can. Let's get time rolling. It's just Beauregard moving down to Fredericksburg, where we told him to go. Okay, that is Price having arrived at Fayetteville, where I do have him building a supply depot, because right now, well, now that he actually arrived at Fayetteville, he's back up to 100% supply. Well, I'm not going to tell him to stop. Who is Murphy? Oh, that's that's our little squadron. Does he see anything? No. Let's ease him out a little bit more. I mean, Biloxi's getting blockaded from somewhere. Something just got built. Okay, our hospital up in Northern Virginia is now built. That should help Johnston and particularly Beauregard to replenish their combat losses following the Battle of Alexandria. Well, actually up there it would be Alexandria. Alexandria in Virginia, Alexandria in Louisiana. I don't know if everybody in Louisiana says it that way. I just heard a lot of people pronounce it that way when I was growing up. Union invades the South. Where exactly is that? Department of Pennsylvania. Okay, that's just reflecting. I think that's reflecting Patterson having retaken Alexandria, which started under Union control at the beginning of the campaign. However, we did also lose this Tier 2 supply depot. That kind of sucks. And what has that done to their supply? Still 100%. Still 100%. Johnston drawing it from Culpeper. Beauregard drawing from Fredericksburg. Beauregard's readiness is not increasing very quickly, must say. So this, quote, Union invasion, unquote, in that newspaper headline was really more a reflection of us pulling Beauregard back a little bit rather than a real new Union invasion. Who is Baron? Ah, that's the Atlantic Raiders. Let's move him up a little bit closer so his blockading circle covers the Brit node, the UK node as well. And what I don't know is, if I blockade these, am I blockading the North? Or am I blockading Great Britain? Is this just going to piss off the British? I don't know. I'm about to find out. Okay. Blockade away. Let's see what happens. It'll take time to run a little bit to register that. Not blocked. Maybe I need more than 2 steamers to blockade. Hey, he's not doing crap. Maybe I need a minimum number of ships or something. I've only got 10 guns on 2 ships. Okay, it's been long enough. If we were having any blockading effect at all, it would be showing on these ports at least. Well, it is showing cumulated losses in tax revenues through blockades and raids. That might have been there before. Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Whoa. There's a whole bunch of stuff just finished building. Savannah Harbor Market completed. Mobile Market completed. Tallahassee Market. Biloxi Market. Gosport Market. There we go. Apalachicola Market. Okay, got to say that for this episode. No, they just lost that. And well, okay, so we got a whole bunch of markets just now completed. Our credit rating is dumped off from A to A-, but hopefully we should have seen a big drop in our building expenses now. Not quite yet. It may take a day for that to register. Oh, we got a new project we're able to build. And it looks like we've got our choice of Springfield or reboard muskets. Well, I'm going to take the Springfields for now, but when this fills up again, I'm going to take the reboards as well. Talked about that before. Yeah, they're crappy, but they're better than mixed muskets and they're better than Springfield muskets. So, you know, beggars can't be choosers. But for now, I'm going to take the Springfields. And hopefully we'll start to see a few of those start to appear in our armory and can get those into the hands of a couple of brigades soon. Right. And like I've mentioned before, all these weapons projects are not leveled. You know, now that we've taken the Springfield Rifle project, we can produce these now. At what rate? Well, that's determined by all this other stuff, like weapons production, our iron mine, our foundries, our ironworks. Matter of fact, I talked before about kind of skipping back and forth between weapons projects and also recruiting levels here as well. Talked about that a few episodes ago. I probably should work in a level or two of weapons production project as well somehow. Okay. Okay, now these are blockaded. Okay, blocked 11%. So we know he's now having an effect on blockade. Is it having any effect on these nodes? There's nothing in this tooltip explicitly stating that we are. Well, it kind of is. Not blocked. Okay. Well, we know he's blockading because he's blockading these ports, but that is apparently not having an effect on these trade nodes. Fair enough. Well, if that's the case, let's just move him a little bit so that he blocks a bunch of ports. As long as you're here, may as well blockade some of these ports up here. Maybe worth coming up far enough to blockade Boston. Look at this guy. It's a pretty big port, 2.7 million. 2.3 million there. Compared to what happens. So these down here on the southern New England shore, they're individually they're a little bit smaller, but there's a whole bunch of them clustered. I kind of think I'll get more bang for my buck if I try to squeeze up in here and get 4 or maybe even 5 of these. And then let's just see how long it takes the AI to come send a fleet to chase these guys away. And another thing I can do is... I've only got 2 steamers in here, but I got quite a few steamers available. And some gun, well, not quite, not very many actually. Let's pop a few more ships into this thing. They'll get up here eventually. Virginia's still building. How long until Virginia's complete, by the way? Oh, still quite a ways. 229 days. Yeah, let's just send these guys up here. Maybe get a little bit of blockade going. And just see how long the Union tolerates that. I don't know. It may just come wreck my fleet immediately, or it may just let it sit there blockading ports for a year. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, Johnson's back up to green. And it looks like their troops have arrived. So we've now got a combined total of about 32,000 men here. That's looking a little better. Beauregard's still got quite a few casualties there. Even under the influence of now 2 hospitals. One here and one up here. What if we can come up here and just you know, not get in a fight, but just come up just close enough to kind of steal that supply depot back. See if we can get away with that. Okay, Garnet apparently has some supply issues. I really am not an enormous fan of building a supply depot. Partially because I'm not sure I'll be able to hang on to it. But he can't stay where he is at his current rate of attrition. I know I don't want to build a damn fort. I don't know if his supply situation is going to improve at all by bringing him back down to Beverly. Clarksburg. Okay, this infrastructure was recently occupied by the Union, so the transport capacity is still recovering. So yeah, Clarksburg is probably not providing as good supply as Beverly would. Also considered having been recently occupied, but the transport capacity is much better recovered than it is at Clarksburg. So I think maybe the thing to do is pull Garnet back just enough where maybe he can draw a supply from both IIPs. I think I'd rather try that first than spend 1.9 million on a supply depot. To see if that works. How's Sidney Johnston doing here? Okay, he's got all of his men. Alright, well, let's see if it works. Let's see if we can grab Louisville. Off you go. So our last estimated position is August 5th. So a little over a week old. However, the supply depot is still building, so we know that really is where he is, which is fine. How's our telegraph doing? Okay, Engineering Corps is done with that telegraph, so let's move him on up to Columbus. I think it's Columbus. Yep, Columbus, Mississippi. There he is. There's the blockading fleet, the 2nd Gulf Blockading Squadron. 12 ships with 181 guns. But he is not blockading Mobile or New Orleans. So given that, I'm not sure I really want to expend a lot of ships on raiding attacks on this squadron to unblockade one port. And what is the level it's being blocked? %34%. Yeah, I think I'm going to husband my resources some. I'm just going to leave them there just to keep them in vision. Well, there's not really any need to do that. We know where he is now and why he's only hitting the one port. Head on back in. Meanwhile, I had built this little thing, this little one-ship squadron, to do the same thing over here. And get sight of what is blockading Galveston. Without getting yourself engaged. As a matter of fact, go on defensive stance. This blockading squadron is covering 2 ports. He's got to be pretty close. Okay, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Union ports blockaded. No, 7. 6, 7. 7. At about 11%. That's still, I mean, that adds up, right? That's pretty cool. And I've got more ships coming up here that should increase that percentage. I can already hear the comments. That is so unrealistic. Why did they let the Confederacy do that? There's no way they could have done that. Yeah, I know. Okay, did that help? Only because he's still not quite close enough to draw supplies from Beverly. Alright, let's get him a little bit closer. Come on over here. Come on, Garnet. Get yourself some victuals. No? Okay, now come on. You're closer to Beverly than you are to Clarksburg now. Why aren't you drawing supply from there? The supply ratio is going up. It may just be a case of it's not showing the... I think maybe I need to click off. He's got to be drawing supply from... Well, the good news is he is drawing supply from Beverly, but now he's not drawing it from Clarksburg, and he's still not up to 100%. Okay, screw it. Ah! I honestly did not expect that. Kentucky secedes. Nice job, Sidney Johnston. Okay, well that's a little bit of a game changer. And how you doing for supply? 100%. Okay, confident morale. This is Confederate territory now. Which means any fighting we do in Kentucky, we should have a morale boost. So we have, so we've captured, we've gotten Kentucky to secede, but there's still good chunks of the state that are under Union control because of proximity to Evansville, Indiana, Cairo, Illinois, and then Cincinnati and Covington. Now, what did that do to support? Okay, Kentucky's up to 75% support now. Well, 74% support. Not bad, though. Okay. Well, apparently either there wasn't much there or we've already just sucked this supply depot dry just upon arriving. Oh. So this army at Cairo is already pretty big. And it's probably going to start coming over here and causing problems, not only in Kentucky, but in Tennessee as well. So question one, should I build a fort at Louisville? I just don't want to spend the money for it. Should I come up and capture Covington? I'm not saying I'm going to do it. Let's just see how much it costs to upgrade a supply depot. Ooh, 5.2 million. Yeah. Now, with now that we had all those buildings finish, now what is our building? I wonder if this is a lag, like this is what we have spent during this past month, and if this will drop when we get to September 1st. I hope so, because all that money we spent building markets ought to be done now. We should just be into the upkeep costs, which are fairly low. I don't think we're actually building that much now. In any case, I think that's probably a good place to leave the episode. Did some more exploration of economic factors. Our armies are starting to look like a little bit better shape to where the next battle that comes up, maybe we'll be somewhat ready for it. Again, it's kind of the third episode without a battle, but hey, Kentucky! Kentucky seceded! I'm pretty happy about that. I think it's a pretty good landmark event for this episode. At any rate, if you like what I'm doing, leave a like, leave a comment, perhaps even, dare I say, a subscribe. But at all events, thank you very, very much for watching. I appreciate it.